Welcome to the Network Table Podcast. Here's your host, Luke Van Every.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Network Table Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Van Every, and I am super excited today because we're going to be talking about the future. Not really like going to the future or the future of what's going to happen, but maybe the future of energy. And I have a really cool and great guest, Haydn. Don't take it to me. Let's talk to him. Haydn, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, Luke? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. We met a few months ago, and you told me what you did, and I really wanted to get you on so we could talk about it more. So tell us, what do you do?
Absolutely. So I run a nationwide solar brokerage called Atlas Solar Advisors. So we connect homeowners with the solar installers and the financiers that best meet their situation. Right now, we're also transitioning to the commercial and utility scale, getting some big projects in and changing how we get our energy to a clean source and a cheaper source at that.
I like cheaper. I like it. How many companies are you working with, and how many states are you working in?
It's a great question. So we actually have the capabilities to install in all 50 states, and we actually are working with some Caribbean deals going on there. So again, some island projects, just for the perks. And
lots of sun there.
Exactly. And they spend way too much for electricity. So we're helping them out as well. Yeah, but also to answer your question, we work with about 30 or more installers and financiers. So we have pretty much the whole spectrum of packages and offerings.
Very cool. I love it. So what is your specific role?
So I'm the chief solar advisor. So I get in the trenches and I deal with sales, right? The big projects are the ones that I work on. My business partner handles the marketing and the data, the analytics. But I love doing
You're doing all the fun stuff. I love it. Right. How long have you been at Atlas Solar Advisors?
So we started the company in September of 2019. So coming up on the 2-year mark.
Congratulations, man. 2-year mark. That's awesome. 2019. What a great time in human history. That is extremely cool. So you're in all 50 states, right? You have the capability to be in all 50 states, but are all 50 states have a hunger for you coming in there and putting in solar?
By no means. So that is one of the most interesting parts of my job. Is solar is very policy based, right? So when a state says, hey, we want more solar or renewable energy, they enact these incentives and policies that really favor going solar in that area. And then that's the new gold mine, right? That's the hot spot. That's where homeowners and business owners can save the most amount of money. And that's usually where solar companies flock. But it's also a gift and a curse because just as fast as those incentives come, they can be gone, right? Yeah. Which if you're an installer and you develop the licenses and the infrastructure to be in that market and the policies are gone, you have a lot of infrastructure that you've sunken cost into, So with us and our sales model, by partnering with local installers, we can get to a market quicker than anyone else and really serve those homeowners.
I love it. Can you give us a list of good states right now?
So some of the best states right now are where you pay the most for electricity. So oftentimes California, bar none, right? You're paying way too much for power. Also the whole Northeast. So Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, all up there, New York, New Jersey. And then surprisingly, actually South Carolina too has some pretty favorable solar incentives. The state of South Carolina is paying for 25% of your system. And then nationwide, the federal government is paying for 26% of it, and that's in the form of a tax credit.
So you're telling me if I live in South Carolina, I can get 51% of my install taken care of?
Up to 51%, and it depends on your tax liability. So for those that don't pay taxes, they can't claim the tax credit. So it is the whole qualification process that we help walk them through.
Right.
Yeah, up to 51.
Up to 51. So Virginia is not on there yet.
Not yet. It's coming soon though. Solar is still pretty popping in Virginia, but just because it gets a ton of sun and people love the environment over there. So
I'm waiting for it. We just will wait for the wife to be on vacation when we get it installed. And that's my next question is, I'm sure you run into neighborhoods who have maybe HOA policies against solar. Mm-hmm. How are we getting around that?
So that is a pretty big hurdle in some states. Thankfully, in some states, it is illegal for an HOA to tell you that you can't have solar, thankfully, right? We always love to stick it to the HOA. However, what they can do is they can limit where you put it. So they can say, hey, no solar on the front roof, and you can only have it on the back. But if your back is facing north, it's typically not the best for solar. So that might DQ that house at the end of the day.
All right, so there's a little wiggle room there, and I can kind of maybe understand that. I don't put them in the front yard right in front of the street where cars are driving by. Okay, I don't live in an HOA neighborhood, so I don't have that problem, but I do live in Virginia, so there's not a lot of tax credits. From your perspective, how long until all 50 states are like, listen, this is the way to go, this is what we want? Is this going to be a slow process, or can we see in the next decade all states being favorable for it?
Definitely within the next decade, you'll see a major push for it. Already in other countries, Germany, Australia, it's all over the place. Even if you look like in-house, right, into Hawaii, it's almost all solar when you go there, right? And it all follows the innovation curve, right? You have the innovators, the early adopters, the early majority, late majority, the laggards. So right now we're in the early majority phase. And as soon as we cross that, which is about a 16% or so adoption, that's the tipping point, and it's open season and everyone's going to be getting it. You're going to have solar, you're going to love it, you're going to tell your neighbors about it, and they're going to get it.
So one personal question, well, not personal yet. One day, let's say I have the ability to get solar and I want to put a pool into. How many solar panels, I don't know if this is right, how many solar panels am I going to need to run my house? I just put it in a pool. I want it running off of solar as well. Do you have clients that have pools? They're like, hey, man, I want just the pool running off of solar.
Oh, yeah. So we actually target neighborhoods that have pools, typically because they're using the most electricity.
Right.
Now, in most states, you can't power the solar, or you can't use solar to power the pool heater. However, you can use it to offset your electricity bill. And if it's all on one bill, you can offset that. So we actually target those neighborhoods with pool just because they have the most pain in paying that electricity bill. But typically with a pool, you're going to need somewhere around 30 panels, which is, give or take, obviously. And it's about 15 square feet per panel. So, anywhere in the ballpark of 450 square feet on the roof.
Okay. I like it. I don't have the money to get a pool. I got a quote and I saw how much it was to get a pool. And I called the guy back. I was like, listen, if I dig the hole myself, can we work something out? And that obviously wasn't the case. So I live in a very sunny area. Let's say it's all the time. It's sunny all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm collecting this energy from the sun, which is fantastic. What if I bring in more energy than I use?
That's an amazing question. And it depends on your utility company, right? So some utility companies will give you credits, and they'll give you credits on your bill for that excess energy. And those credits will roll over to the next month. So it all comes down to a monthly economics most of the time. Let's say you consume 1,000 kilowatt hours, but you produce 1,500. Right, that extra 500 is going to be credited to you and roll over to the next month, just like rollover minutes back in the day, right? If you don't use them, they just roll over to the next month and you're good to go. Now, some utility companies will not give you credits for them, or they'll give you a lower ratio. So if you have an extra 500, they'll give you credits for 250. But we look for those utility companies that are 1-to-1.
Very cool. I love it. Man, we could sit here and talk about it all day, but let's go back. How'd you get here? Where'd you go to school?
Oh man, I have a heck of a journey, but it all started at NC State. So go Pack.
Go Pack, my people. I lived in Raleigh for 8 years, man.
Oh yeah, it's great over there, man. I love it. That's my second home.
Love it. So you went to NC State. What'd you go to school for?
I studied international business, economics, and Spanish.
Fantastic. Right. Triple major. Love it.
Yeah.
So we exit out. We have the big ceremony. Great. Where do we go next? What's next?
So I thought I had my career path set with my suit and tie, was good to go. And I actually fell in love with my senior year thesis, which was the inefficiencies of food production. and vertical farming as a potential solution. So like most millennials, I thought I'd come out of college and try and save the world and feed the world, and realized that I was just not equipped to change a major industry like that at 22 years old. So I had to just scrap to survive. So I tried an entrepreneurial venture in that industry. And I remember the days when I would go to Goodwill and I would walk around taking pictures of all the furniture and posting it on OfferUp and Let Go. And then by the time I left the store, I had offers on those. So I'd pick it up from Goodwill, drop it off at the customer's house, make a couple $100 and stay in business for another week. And it was just a scrap, man.
Man, that's doing whatever you have to. I love when people ask me, like, Luke, what do you do? Whatever it takes. And that right there, my friend, is the definition of doing whatever it takes. So that fizzles out, though. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you decided to go after one of the largest industries on the planet. So it's okay. What next? Where do we go to from there? What's the trigger to say, all right, different direction?
So when we realized that it was just not happening, and I just was realistically just underqualified to take on that venture at the time. So the next venture I ran into, I had a friend who was successful in wholesaling real estate. So I actually self-taught myself the process of wholesaling real estate. And I remember it was such a moment of alignment when the very first cold call I made for real estate ended up leading to a 5-figure commission. And I was like, oh, this is easy. This is the next venture. So real estate it was. We flipped a couple more houses. I got my license, my broker's license down in Florida. And then from there, we actually realized that a lot of our clients had a need for drone photography. Ooh, and nice. The only barrier to entry with that industry was a licensed pilot who was one of our best friends. So we're like, you know what? Let's just start a drone photography company. And that was the next venture.
So wait, you make 6 figures off your first sale. The sales gods were like 5 figures. Excuse me. I did not mean to disrespect it. 5 figures on your first cold call ever. The sales gods were like, here you go, young one. Here's your encouragement. Crush that. Go to the drone. What out of the drone company?
So we sold more jobs than we could handle. It was great. Wow. We were knocking doors on realtors' offices, getting a ton of business. We then realized that we had a super subpar product, and our salesmanship was top notch. We were getting business, bringing in money, but then when we delivered the product, they were like, dude, what is this? I can't market this, So we and the margins were too small. We had no passion in it. So from there, it actually led to a network marketing attempt, which then it led to probably my biggest failure, because I'd always gone from, and there's a couple ventures in between, and I'd gone from, failure to failure, or lesson to lesson, and always
lesson. Stop. Say that again. Say it again. Now, I want everybody to hear you say that. It wasn't failure to failure. It was
lesson to lesson for sure. Everyone made me better and equipped me for the next one.
So we had these lessons. Mm-hmm. After the drone, then were we at Atlas? What was after the drone?
So from the drones led to network marketing, and I'd always been optimistic from venture to venture. You can't really get me down. It's very tough to keep me down, and I got into network marketing, and that was the one where I brought to all my friends and family. Obviously, it's teach you, right? Burn your contacts. So, and that was when I realized that for what it was, and I realized it wasn't for me. That was the biggest L that I took. And that one really was just a knife in my side, where that one kept me down for a little bit. It was pretty defeating, pretty humiliating. And I went into honestly probably a 3-month period of depression after that. It was tough to get back up after that one.
When was this?
This was, I want to say September to December of 2017.
Yeah, that's a big lesson, right? We fail. We think that we're going to tap into this and take over and be the new head on the block. It doesn't work out that way. So we have a bad couple of months, but everybody on the planet has bad couple of months. Mm-hmm. When do we dust it off, stand up and say, nah, I'm Haydn. This is what we do. We learn and we move forward.
So that was thankfully my most impactful growing season to date. I actually found my faith in that season. I rekindled a relationship with God. I was, for the first time in my almost 8 year relationship now, it was probably 4 or 5 years at the time. My girlfriend at the time, we're finally in the same city. So her and I got like super close, built a strong foundation of our
Wait. You were doing all of this incredible work, lessons, learning while in a long distance relationship.
Yep. Yeah, we
Not
did
only-
college together. But after that, I was to Florida for drone photography. I was to Guatemala for a nonprofit. I was all over the place, man. But she was a ride or die. That's why she's got the rock now.
Nice. Oh, my friend, that's the hardest job in the world. I've been with my wife since I was 16. I'm 34. We're on 18 years.
Yeesh.
We've never lived apart. That is kudos to you. So, on top of everything else that you've been doing, you were also managing and building this fantastic relationship with your soon to now be wife.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep getting even more incredible. Let me stop interrupting you. So, all right. So we've dusted ourselves off. We're realigned in our faith. We're now living with or reconnected in the same city.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from there?
So I remember that at that time, I had a really good friend of mine forcing me to the kitchen table every morning, because he was actually the one I was doing all of these ventures with. I had a business partner through it all, best friend. We were childhood best friends, disconnected for 10 years, got back together, started these ventures, and he forced me to the kitchen table every single morning to do a Bible study. And we called it Get to the Spot. He's like, Haydn, you get to the spot every morning and it'll figure itself out. So I remember there was a time, and as cliche as it was, dude, it was the New Year's resolution, right? I'm getting into gear. January 1st, it's starting. And I'm like, I'm going to begin 2018 with a 3-week fast. And I'm going to cut out all the BS in my life, all the distractions, everything that's toxic for me for 3 weeks. And I'm just going to pray it out, and I'm done. I'm taking control back. And I remember it was at the very end, because my brother's birthday is January 21st, the last day of that 3 weeks. And my biggest entrepreneurial goal, step one, was to buy myself a car so I could give my brother my grandmother's car that she gave me. I had a car given to me. He didn't. It's time to pass it down and buy my own car. And when I couldn't buy that car, I remember that was like the point when I was like, I failed up until now. That was the one thing I had my eyes set on, and I couldn't do it. And I couldn't even afford like a bucket off of Craigslist. I had no options. And I remember it was that day I like broke down into a panic attack. I was hyperventilating. I was sobbing. And it was at that point I actually like just surrendered. I literally fell to my hands and knees and just gave it up to God. I was like, God, I surrender. Maybe I'm not meant to be wealthy. Maybe I'm not meant to be great. Maybe I'm not meant to make an impact, whatever it is. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know up from down. Like, just take this burden, man. Just, I'm done with it. I got nothing left. And I remember like it felt like a light switch on my panic attack just got flipped. And I had this cool rushing sensation saying, like, from my head to my toes, and all I heard was like, it'll be okay. And I was like, all right, dude, I got fired up. I dropped down and I started doing push-ups, sit-ups, planks, a full workout, dude. I was fired up. And one of my things I fasted for that 3 weeks was Instagram. I hadn't checked it in 3 weeks. I looked on my phone, and the very first story was a connection that I had made while networking for my very first sustainable agriculture business. He was now running a solar empire. They were crushing it. And he posted on his story, our solar company is hiring. Reach out if you're interested. And I messaged him and said, tell me more. And 4 days later, I was in Boston rocking with solar.
That is incredible, isn't the word. There's another word that doesn't exist that is incredible, but above it, that is awesome. So now we're going to Boston. We've been chilling in all these wonderful, beautiful, hot places. Now we decided to go to Boston and freeze. which Boston is fantastic, but it's cold and I don't do well cold. So we go to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
We know nothing about solar.
Zero. Not a bit.
So I'm assuming, dive head in like you have on everything else and say, I'm going to master this.
Yeah. As you can imagine, my girlfriend was like, "You're nuts. 4 days, Haydn. 4 days. You're leaving to Boston? I'm not going to Boston. So what are you going to do?" So we set a bare minimum. And she said, if you don't make 5 sales a month, you're getting your butt back home or I'm gone. Like, that's it. You have a quota from me, not the company. And if you don't hit that, if you don't make this one work, then you're coming back home and getting a job. And and if that's
she ever been in sales before? She doesn't understand the pressure of a quota.
Never.
Double quota on you.
Never. So I go up there. And oh man, the false promises, dude. It worked. I'll preface it by saying it worked. But I went up there and I was told we're going to be moving into $1 million house. Your room is going to be fully furnished. And they didn't tell me that Massachusetts real estate is super expensive. And it's more so $1 million neighborhood, not $1 million house. So it's this rundown beater of a house. No heat, no hot water in a February of
No hot water?
Boston. When I got there, no. And the fully furnished was an air mattress with a hole in it on the floor. And so every morning, yeah, dude, it was brutal, man. It's been a grind to get to here. But every morning at 5 a.m., it was like at 2 or 3, it would go flat and I'd have to pump it back up. And then at 5 a.m., it would go flat again. And I'd say, screw it, I'm up.
Time to get in bed.
I'm up, So I was waking up super early and, they say 10,000 hours to be successful in anything. And I was getting in 10,000 hours faster than anyone else. I was studying my face off. I was doing extra role plays, stepping up, just cutting my learning curve as fast as humanly possible. Progressed from a door knocking rep to assistant manager. And then in August, got promoted to district manager and was able to go back down to North Carolina, which was the goal. So I went back to the missus and started the team here. I recruited all my best friends and my family, my younger brother. And we grew that team to the #1 team in the country, started crushing it with that team. And then from there, the policies ended in North Carolina. So they shipped us up to Chicago. And yeah, we'll pause there.
Oh, man, there's no need to pause. That is, that's incredible. That is just the definition of a story of success. Yes, but you did that, all of that. You stood up and said, no, you believed, you pushed, and you made it happen. From now on, when people ask me, Luke, what's your advice for somebody starting a company? It's going to be get a blow-up mattress that goes flat at 5 a.m. So you just have to get up. That's the key. Right. That's it. That's the new success model. Everyone, if you want to start your own business, get an air mattress that goes flat at 5 a.m. So you have to get up.
That's right.
All right. So now is it the transition to Atlas Solar?
One more stop with Chicago. I went up to Chicago and I lost my whole team. Basically our installers weren't ready for us up there. Instead of taking 1 to 2 months to install it, they were taking 4 to 6. And we get paid at install. So you can imagine my guys that I brought up there with me selling a job and not getting paid for 6 months. You're not going to keep many employees. So I lost my whole team. And then 2 months later, we started recruiting and we actually grew a team to 65. And from like March to June, we just ramped up. We scaled tremendously. And then that company actually imploded on itself due to some bureaucracy. But I was basically left without anything. I had the skill set and management experience with solar, and I said, do I go join another solar company, or I have the knowledge, I have the experience.
Built and have built yourself to run a company. I I've had a few conversations with you, and everyone can say this. My opinion, you were built to run a company. You have the experience of failure, but overcoming. You are meant to be the leader. So I do have to ask, before we get back to Atlas, I need some stories of knocking on doors. You don't have to get them all. You don't have to get the worst. Give me like a mid experience knocking on doors. Because it used to be a thing, a big thing back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then that faded out. People don't like knocking on the doors. But for solar, it makes sense. Listen, hey, I want to talk to you about your energy. This is where we can put it. You're a great fit. But I'm sure not everyone was very open and welcoming to having you knock on the door.
Oh, man. I don't know if there's any like phenomenal stories, but there's highlights of stories that I can go on for days, whether it's, people have pulled guns out on us. One guy came out shirtless with his boxers with an axe and like a little hatchet on his shoulder and walked us to the next door. Whether it's I've been pulled over by cops for soliciting in neighborhoods and ended up setting appointments with the police officers and trying to sell him solar.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, or just giving people solar to offset their cannabis farm in the backyard. Whatever it may be, man. It was interesting for sure.
Cannabis farm. That is, man, Haydn, your story is incredible. Getting pulled over and still, you are a true closer, my friend. Getting pulled over for selling solar and selling solar to the cop.
I said, listen, officer, when you hear why we're out here, you'll be amazed. All right. Have you heard what's going on with solar? You've got to have seen it in the news, right? He's like, no, what's going on? Boom, I'm in.
Yes, that's awesome. All right. So now it's time. Let's do it. Atlas Solar Advisors. How did that feel? How'd you go about it? How'd you come up with the name?
So actually, it was as I was leaving my prior company, I had a manager, a partnering manager in the Boston office, and she just got actually just bit hard by an executive. Like she took an L with the company, and I went up there and she was just venting, and we had a long, heartfelt conversation, and I just spoke life into her. And a lot of the team with that company was sticking around, had expressed that they said, Haydn, we have trust in you. If you're sticking with this company through this and you're sticking around, we trust you. So if you trust the company, then we'll stick around. And so I was really consoling a lot of people who weren't getting paid and struggling through the job. And she said, Haydn, you're you remind me of the in mythology of Atlas. Like you have the whole world of our company on your shoulders. And I was like, oh, Atlas, I like that. So that's how it started. And now we got the world on our shoulders. So it was renewable energy and solving one of the world's biggest problems to date. And so it just clicked.
I love it. Even the name has a great story. You have a great story. This was a great story. And your story is going to continue to be great because of who you are and the work that you have put in. And that's what it boils down to. Putting in the work, taking the L's, and making them not losses, learning. L doesn't always have to mean loss. Mm-hmm. Stand for learning. And you, sir, have learned. That is extremely humbling. That's awesome.
Keep going. Steve Jobs says the only secret to success is to not quit. If you don't quit, you're going to figure it out and you're going to be at the right place at the right time. Something has to work out, and the better prepared you are when that opportunity comes. That's all luck is, right? You guys have probably heard the quote, and I'm a king of cliches, right? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You prepare long enough, eventually you're going to run across the right opportunity and it's going to click.
All right. And that is, That's awesome. So where's our focus right now? Where's Atlas honing in its focus in one state right now, or multiple states? Where's your main focus right now?
So thankfully, when I was up in Chicago, right before the end of the other company, I recruited a church leader of mine as a business partner. And then when that company ended, him and I started Atlas together. And that's another huge lesson I'll say. And just a side note that that was a key to our initial success, was that we did it as a team and we could delegate, and you didn't have to do everything, and being able to hand it off to someone that you can trust and that was skilled and an equal tier, like another ace. It made all of the difference having another ace on the team. And again, king of the cliches, man. If you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, you go as a team and go together. So having him as a business partner really helped make it. I remember we said, all right, we got the company, we got the LLC, we got the name, we got the brand. Let's go knock some doors. This was all the confirmation in the world that the very first door you knock, and you can knock 100 doors and not get a deal on some days, right? But the very first door we knocked, once we were incorporated, was a pastor, and was our first deal and install, our first 4-figure check, and off to the races from there. But to answer your question right now, we are focused on South Carolina. With these new incentives, it's down where I am. I'm right on the border of North and South Carolina. And it's a hot market, and here's where we're at.
Well, Haydn, man, we could sit here and talk to you all day. We're definitely going to have you back. And I'm so excited to have you now as a partner and most importantly, a friend. If people listening want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So you can go to our website, atlassolaradvisors.com. You can email me at hflores@atlassolaradvisors.com. You can find us on Facebook, and let's just see if your house or business qualifies.
Hayden, I typically ask, what would be your advice? You just gave nothing but advice to individuals that are thinking about starting their own business, man. So that question doesn't go to you, because your story and your hard work and your hustle speaks for itself. Haydn, I can't thank you enough for coming on and giving me the opportunity to interview you, man. And I'm excited to watch you continue to grow and be successful and help in so many different ways. I can't thank you enough, buddy.
Luke, man, this is awesome. A ton of fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
For more information, please visit truecompare PEO.com.